When it comes to the forklift, is it safe for operations? Is it even at the right capacity for you to use for this job? These are things you need to check. And so as you approach the forklift, you're already looking to see if everything looks okay. But the first item you need to specifically check is the data plate. This will give you the load capacity, the maximum capacity the forklift can lift, as well as the load center distance and forward tilt capacities. These are important measurements, as are everything else on the data plate. Now, if the data plate is missing or illegible, you cannot use the forklift. Then you would need to tag it out of service, isolate, remove the key, and report to a supervisor that the data plate is missing. Whenever there's a fault on a forklift, you must isolate, tag, and report to make sure that you cover the procedures correctly. And so check the data plate to see that it gives you the capacity you need for the job, and also check that your gas compliance plate is up to scratch. Next thing you need to begin doing is check the guards. You're going to have an overhead guard, foot guard, and your backrest guard or backboard. These three guards are essential on all forklifts, and you must have a backboard, foot guard, and overhead guard to operate a forklift. While you're checking around the mast and the backboard, check that all the welds are correct and there's no breakages on that backboard, and also check your tines or your forks for cracks, bends, or damage, and that they are evenly adjusted across the breadth of the unit. Check that the hoses for the hydraulics, as well as all the pulleys and chains, are working correctly, and that the pins and everything is secure while you're checking the mast. Once you've completed the mast check, go around and check that the floor is clean and uncluttered. Many accidents happen through people tripping over stuff that's been put on the floor of their forklift. And check your wheels. Now, there are two types of wheels on forklifts: solid rubber tires and pneumatic tires. For a solid rubber tire, you're checking for cracks. You're checking for any chunks broken out and for even or uneven wear on the tires. Make sure you check under your forklift for any possible damage. And on pneumatic tires, you're looking for pressure as well as wear and damage. You're looking for correct pressure in your tires. Moving forward, check that your counterweight is correct and that your gas bottle is secure and that the hoses are not leaking gas or anything like that. Once around the other side of the vehicle, again, check that everything is as it ought to be and that it's safe and secure. Remember to check all wheel nuts on all four wheels and the wear on all four wheels while you're completing your pre-start check. Now it's time to get down where the engine is, and so open the engine bay and have a look on the inside. There are a few things we're needing to check in here. You're checking the general appearance of the engine bay, but you are also checking the security of the battery especially. As forklifts have no suspensions, the battery can become loose, and so you need to check it and check the terminals that they're clean, but also that they are nice and secure, as well as fluid levels if it's a battery that allows you to do that. You also need to go ahead and check the fan belt, the engine oil. After you've checked all of those and they're correct, check that the radiator hoses are all in good condition, and check that the air cleaner is clean. And on an environment where you're working on gravel soils, you need to check the air cleaner correctly and clean it regularly. Check your radiator fluid to make sure that the coolant levels are correct. And you'll also need to check for your brake fluid to make sure it is at the right levels and that everything is good. You're checking that the hydraulic fluid, which is usually gearbox, steering, hydraulics for lifting the mast, you're just checking to see is it at the right level. Now, when getting on, don't forget that you've got 3 points of contact. One hand, 2 hands, and a foot. It needs to be 3 points of contact as you climb up onto the forklift, because many people slip, causing injury, and we don't want that to happen to you. As soon as you sit down on the forklift, do up your safety belt. So many operators, especially experienced operators, don't bother with the safety belt. Let me tell you, put the safety belt on. It's there for a reason and will protect you in case of a tip over or serious accident.